This new Lupe album is so long and dense. Where the fuck do I start with this review? I don't know what to fucking do. I need some help. I need some fucking help. Someone needs to help me. I need like a partner or something to review this with me. I don't know what the fuck to do. Okay, let me see. Let's see if I can find something. There's so many lyrics to unpack. Who can help me with this? I have no fucking clue. Let's see. Huh. David Rowe. Alright, this guy seems alright.
Or not, every musician is influenced by and borrow from plenty of artists.
Not bad, okay. Oh, whoa. Those are some good fucking moves. Alright, yeah, this is the guy. I need this guy to review this with me. Bad.
Hey.
Oh, hey, come on, man. What's going on? You're alright?
Nothing. What are you doing?
Oh no, I'm just gearing up to review this new Lupe album,
okay.
But it's just such a huge album. I felt like it'd be better if I had like a partner with me. Yeah, so I think I found a cool guy online, this David Rowe gentleman. I think we're gonna review it together. I think it's pretty fun.
Cool. I mean, but like I can help if you want. I can help you out with the review. I'm sure it'd be. That'd be fun, right?
Sure, I don't know. It's Lupe though. It's Lupe. I need someone who's really good with lyrics and like lyrical breakdowns, because he's quite a wordsmith. I'm not sure if I feel like I should get this David guy. I think he knows what's going on.
He seems cool though. This guy, he seems cool.
Clearly, we're looking at a legend.
Jack
right
is the
here.
next level MC in so many ways.
Look
For
at this
instance,
guy.
right off
this
the
is a legend right
he
here.
teaches you math.
It's just
What
obvious.
other rapper
I feel like this guy will really help out.
I'll review it with you. It'll be fun. Me and you doing collab review. Tight. Yeah.
I don't know, dude. This guy's lyrical breakdowns are honestly pretty stunning. I need someone who really knows their shit, because when it comes to lyrics, because again, it's Lupe.
He's whatever, but what could he do? What could he do that I couldn't do?
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine if it's just me and you, really. Right. Me. Hey, come on, it's your boy. That's gonna be fun, man. Me and you doing a review. Hey, honestly, lyrics, easy. Nothing I can't do. I'm all about lyrics. My favorite rappers are all lyrical. Hopsin, he's in my top 5 for real. So I know what I'm talking about, man. I'm sure it would be fine.
I don't want to be rude or anything. I'm sorry. I'm gonna review it with David. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with David on this. No, sorry, no, fuck this. No, okay, no, for real. What the fuck?
Can we just do the fucking review? Like I live with you. Like, come on, I'm fucking right here. Like, I'm just gonna be pushed aside. Like, come on.
I don't like that.
What? Come on, fuck you. Like, nah. Okay, you know what? If you don't review it with me, I'm moving out. I'm leaving.
Overreacting.
I'm out.
I'm sorry.
I'm done with this whole thing. For real, fuck this. You're gonna pick one. It's either gonna be fucking David guy or me. All right. What's it gonna be?
David Rowe.
Oh, fuck.
Hello, everyone. I'm Buffalo. This is David Rowe, the dance god himself, is with me today to review the new Lupe Fiasco album. It's titled DROGAS Wave. And so my understanding is both myself and David are pretty fond of Mr. Fiasco.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely hesitant towards this album because obviously it's dauntingly long. So that's
as soon as I saw the track list, I was like, "Oh no, here comes like
fuck, man,
an overly long, filled with filler."
Yeah, that's like instantly
just unnecessarily long.
Yeah, it's just like a red flag. Like, oh man, it's 90+ minutes.
Yeah, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, right. Because
that was my initial reaction.
Yeah, I thought because obviously, especially since like music is so plentiful, you appreciate the shorter albums a lot more.
I was like, I don't have time for this. Yeah, I'm already way behind on everything. I don't need this.
So here we are. Lupe's back again, and the last one, obviously, the last album, DROGAS Light.
Was really bad.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was pretty weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll let you start though. So what are your general thoughts on DROGAS Wave compared to what you were expecting and how it turned out and everything?
I just remember this thing came out and I didn't want to listen to it, but I'm a huge Lupe fan, so I was like, okay, like I did jump on it right away. I didn't put it off.
Yeah.
And like I was honestly pretty blown away the first time, like not even necessarily just by the music, but just by the fact that I was sitting there for 98 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I got bored once.
Right.
Like I feel like almost the entire runtime was used like with some purpose. Actually,
I agree.
Was there for some reason. I didn't feel like he just threw in random songs, trying to cheat the game in terms of streaming or anything.
Definitely.
It seemed like he actually had a lot of incredible ideas and just put them all out on this one massive project.
I agree with that. I think the issues that I would have with this album don't really come down to the length of the album. Do you think it's up to par with his best work, or what you would consider his best work? Well, I mean,
I think it's like near the same level. Like I don't know if it would beat like the Cool or Tetsuo and Youth for me, but like
right, yeah,
I'd be able to put it on the same level. Like the rapping, the production, like the overall concept. Like I think everything is like he's on the top of his game here.
Yeah. I think okay. So the concept of this album, this is my understanding of what it is.
Yeah. This part was kind of hard to just wrap your head around.
It's wild. It's okay.
Like for the first.
So yeah, go ahead.
I found for like the first 7 songs, I was like, okay, I get where this is going. But then after Down, I like the rest of it started to kind of confuse me as to how it tied in.
Yeah, especially the last handful of songs. They don't really explicitly reference the. Okay, so the concept it's about slavery. Specifically, it's about a group of slaves known as the Long Chains. They are a group of slaves who have traded their lives for being slaves to jump overboard off the slave ships to become waves, to stop the other slave ships and try to sink them. That's what the concept or the story is, which is fucking weird. But just,
wait,
I mean, that's
did they become waves, or did they become like spirits under the ocean?
Because that's what I thought. I thought like, oh, is that like a metaphor? Like, they jump off and like their soul sort of carries on in the water, and like that's what their path is now, or something like that. That's what I thought. But I think maybe this because he kind of toys with like alternate realities on this thing, like with the songs "Alan Forever" and
Johnny Laugh Forever.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so I'm thinking maybe this takes place in some alternate reality where they form some alliance underwater or something. I think this album in its sound is just, and I think Tetsuo and Youth was the same way. Even though the sound palette is kind of different on this album, it still sounds really kind of huge in ambition and scope.
Yeah.
And beyond just the length of it, like there's such a huge presentation to a lot of these tracks, especially with the slave ship interlude and the Drogas intro song with the Spanish speaking, and it all feels with the fucking violins and strings. Mm-hmm. It's really presenting this huge concept to you in a really like grandiose way.
Like he did a lot of work to make like not just his lyrics on here, but the actual production and presentation be like up to snuff with the concept. Like, and I find that a lot of these tracks have a very like aquatic and watery tone to them, like even in the production. So like it all fits this incredible soundscape. Like he really put together a cohesive album here. He didn't just throw on a bunch of songs.
Exactly. Which is tough to do when you have this length. So that's pretty great.
Yeah,
especially I think it was Wave Files, or the song Wave Files. That had a really warm, kind of like
like those light, like buoyant piano keys. Like you kind of just feel like you're floating through like this like rich, vibrant, peaceful part of the ocean.
And you hear that little vocal,
like sharks around.
Thing, like, wow,
the crabs are my comrades.
Yeah, he says like sharks are my homies and this and that. Like you're
well, that was on Down. Yeah.
Oh,
what do you think of that hook actually? Because like I saw people saying that it's like fish is my friends, octopus is my homies.
Yeah. I mean,
something my people, the shrimp is all on me.
I think I'm not really mad at that necessarily. My problem with Down was that weird part where it just goes all quiet and you hear that little like that little thing pops in. And it just kind of it really breaks the momentum of the song. I think that's what my issue with that track is. But I'm not really against the hook necessarily. Because
I just saw some people saying it was like kind of corny, like, but I thought it kind of fit the tone. Like kind of say like that these spirits have kind of become like one with nature, and like kind of separate themselves from society.
Yeah, that's kind of I didn't really find that to be out of place, really.
I actually did like the song overall, though. Like the deep bassy synths, like it sounded so just aquatic and like ocean-like, like, and I don't know. I just thought it really was a good song musically. Like lyrically, it wasn't one of the better songs, but.
Yeah, I think maybe if it was just, I don't know, it felt like a bit of a sluggish moment. It felt like a bit of a wall to me. Lupe's rapping, it was kind of like, you're right, it did fit that kind of aquatic tone. He was rapping kind of lazily. It like kind of sounded a bit intoxicated, you know. But I don't know. It just as a song, it drags on quite a bit, and that moment where it just kind of all drowns out, and then it comes back, and the instrumentation just kind of bursts through again, and you have that little break moment with that little weird vocal thing. The pace of the song felt a bit sluggish to me, but I mean,
but I kind of liked how it felt murky in a bit though. Like, I feel like the sluggishness was kind of part of the appeal to me, and like it was more about kind of how Lupe was writing it, and just the idea of, as I said, like becoming one with nature, because you know, becoming part of the waves or spirits or whatever these people did. Like, I thought it fit well with the concept.
He really spins this narrative into some interesting areas for sure, and all the different perspectives he's rapping from. Like on Wave Files, it's like you're hearing some slave sort of deconstruct the corruption of slavery in a sense. Like he has that one verse where he's listing off all the slave ships that have sunk. And just kind of going
and also there were on Wave, for speaking about Wave Files, that part on I think his second verse where he's talking about like some in the forest talking to the trees, like, how could you be the chorus? You know that? And he's talking about, like, he became boards for the floors and the doors of the warships, anthropomorphic, the forest returned with a match made from himself, said burn us with that. Like, that was a great, like,
dude, I don't know,
he just was going off at the end of that.
Insane rhyme schemes, too. The way he pulls off, like...
I know. Like, and I don't know, this really has nothing to do with the Lupe album, but there was that whole discussion around Kamikaze about, like, rhyming words about nothing just for the sake of having a good rhyme scheme. And some people were saying, well, like, isn't that what hip hop is about? And what I was saying is that this is kind of what hip hop is about, when you can have these insane rhyme schemes, but when you actually have, like, coherent verses where you're, like, saying something with it too.
Exactly. Like there's all purposeful. It's not just filler. Like, it all fits in. It's exactly 100%.
Like when you have a song like XO where he's going in with these insane, like, internal rhyme schemes with these like rapid flows, honestly, and just like the rhyme scheme on that song blows my mind, but it's like coherent verses where, like, the lines actually tell a story as well. Like, that's what blows my mind.
That song struck me as sort of like, it was sort of deconstructing kind of the mental conflict that comes with addiction and sort of personifying it as a love interest too. And he still managed to make that fit the theme of the album too, which is insane.
And, like, I like with that song how he kind of spun the cycle of addiction and also had, like, the cycle of being abducted by UFOs every night. Like, did you catch that?
I did catch
like,
that.
I didn't catch that till later, but, like, it was like this weird sci-fi thing going on. Like,
right. And that kind of kind of fits the instrumental a bit too. It's a very electronic-ish. Well, it sounds like a very synthetic instrumental compared to a lot of this other. Like the drums felt really digital to me on that song, and some of the sound effects he would use on songs, like, as well as was it Gold versus The Right Thing to Do? I noticed there was, like, this weird laser sound effect.
Oh, these, like, it was like some weird kind of, like, you're in an arcade playing like a little shooter game or something.
Yeah, and he had that, dude, I fucking love his accent on that song. He has that Jamaican accent thing.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love that. I think it sounds...
What is he he's like, some men want to live like a banca.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He's like, man,
at first I thought it was kind of corny, but when I kind of, like, listened into the story, I was like, okay, that actually does work.
Because he said at the beginning, like, gather around the fire, so you get the sense he's rapping from the perspective of, like, or like the leader or one of the first people or part of this group of slaves on the water, and he's sort of like telling the story of, like, of just like all these ships that have fallen and everything like that, and just going through the historical background of this group, the Long Chains, and I love the way he transitions from that accent to just regular Lupe, just so seamlessly in that second verse. That's a great song.
Like, that's one of the first songs where I realized, okay, it seems like a lot of this album is going to be done through storytelling, like through other characters, and that, like, his perspective isn't going to be used as much. Yeah. And I also, like, when I played into that's one of my favorite songs, I think, story-wise, just the fact, like, Gold versus The Right Thing to Do. Like, you know, these people, these African natives themselves are, like, selling their people just because, you know, they're getting these Manilas or this gold and stuff.
Yeah, the Manila. Yeah.
And I thought the entire concept of Manila was really interesting too.
I remember that song he was talking about. He just seemed to be going through very materialistic things and sort of tackling the greed of mankind, and then, like, the current, like, talking about things we spend our money on, and then sort of correlating that to slavery as well with the Manila. That was
how, like, you know, one slave for one Manila, like. And then, but then kind of mirroring that against how materialism has developed in modern times.
Yeah, and he kind of went... Sorry, go, I'll let you finish, but...
Like, the verses, to me, like, I didn't really catch that whole thing until the end, because, like, a lot of the lines, it kind of seemed like they weren't telling a cohesive story, but then when I just thought of the idea of Manila, and then saw lines, like, what was he saying? He said, like, epilepsy, diamonds, flicker foolish on the cuff wrist, do my duty to be useless to the fuck shit, and I was like, okay, he's kind of talking about, like, modern day materialism, and then how that correlates back to it. It's just that idea there.
Well, exactly. And
I love the instrumental on that song too.
With the little ascending, like,
Manila. And then, like, kind of that more, like, you know, stretched out warping synths on there too, like, underneath. 100%. And, like, there's something so inspirational about that song too, like, kind of the way it builds up at the start, like, it's so hype.
It's so amped up when I hear it. It's crazy. And the don't ruin us.
And it's like reparations from segregate. Oh man, I love that.
Awesome, yeah. And I like how that kind of gets further expanded on the song Imagine, where he goes through sort of his come up as a rapper and his label struggles, like Atlantic Records, and he links that to, like, the Atlantic Ocean and the Atlantic
right,
and which fits the concept. It's just like, for fuck's sake.
Like, I didn't want to read too much into other people's interpretations of this album, but I did watch Sean C's review, and he brought that up, and I hadn't thought about it before. I was like, oh my god, like, the fact that he was tying these slaves crossing the Atlantic Ocean and being, like, pulled down into it to save themselves, and he's talking about, like, jumping overboard from Atlantic Records, like, as if he was a slave there, and I was like, what? Like, how do you... this guy is so creative.
Yeah, he really pulls off some slick shit on this album. It's pretty great. And then we had Alan Forever, which is one of the more hopeful songs.
Oh my!
On here.
And no, Alan Forever to me was crazy because it was like that piano line and that organ line. Like when you first hear it, it sounds so cheerful and happy. But then when I kind of understood what was going on with the lyrics, now when I hear those, like I just kind of feel sad.
Yeah, it's really upsetting.
It's like happy, but it's like in a way that it's like hopeful, but it's like kind of wistful. Like this could have been, but like in reality, you know, what actually happened with, because it's about like that guy who drowned off of the coast. Like what did he do? He like fell off a boat.
I think it was in Syria. They were leaving to go to Europe during like an immigration crisis from 2015, and he was just left there and he ended up drowning. And
and like, you know, he's talking about like what if he became part of like a swimming team and like beat Michael Phelps records, and it's all hopeful, and then saves himself.
Well, he saves a boy
just like when you realize,
so it just like perfectly correlates to what happened in real life. So
but then we just think about the fact that, you know, that's not what happened. Like I don't know, it's like a really kind of powerful, like sad song too. Like,
so it's like when you do have that realization, it's like, oh fuck. Yeah, it's like a real moment.
But then, like, the other thing I found interesting is, like, obviously, Alan Forever and Joni Law Forever, like, to me, those songs were kind of like yin and yang. Like, Alan was, like, this really hopeful, like, positive, like, this is what could happen. And then Joni Law's, like, this dark, gloomy, just depressing.
And you hear it in the music, too, because the beat on Joni Law Forever is, like, fucking harrowing. You know, it sounds
and just, like, those dim piano chords. And then, do you know who the woman vocalist on that is?
Was it Nikki Jean? Because I know she has many credits.
She was the vocalist was credited, but that part was like, I was just a bad dream, like that part on it. Like every time that comes in, like it just I don't know, something about that hits me so much. Like that song, like it brings me to the verge of tears really every time I hear it. Like it's
a great track. And then we have
I think that might be my favorite song, honestly.
Really? But good pick.
It's just
lovely. And the way it comes off of XO as well, it's a nice juxtaposition too.
So. Yeah, and that's why I don't know how you felt about the song Kingdom, but I actually really liked that song, especially for the placement, because it comes right after Joni Law Forever, and it just kind of goes from this kind of really grim, harrowing reality to like this hopeful, you know, lively, smile-inducing chorus.
That's true. The chorus, I that song, I think it's just musically I really don't get on with it. Like that, especially that ending or the last half where it starts.
I love the ending where like the guitars come in.
No, that guitar.
I thought that shit sounded epic.
I wish I could do that. Every time it comes out, I'm just like, this is just it sounds cheesy to me. I don't think it paid off too well personally.
Yeah, like I know what you mean, but like for me, every time that comes in, it's just kind of like a really bombastic ending to the song. I just kind of appreciate it.
Those drums start going really crazy. It felt just a bit like it was trying or shooting for too much for me. I don't know if it really found the right balance for me personally, but I see what you're saying. It definitely is a hopeful song. So yeah,
I also liked Damian Marley's feature on the song. I thought he was good.
I can't go with that.
I like the line he had where he said like, well, if man was meant to fly, God would have made us all with wings. Well, he made us all with crowns, so that means every man's a king. Like maybe that could be corny, but I just thought it was interesting how he spun that.
I mean, I think maybe again it was just his voice felt just a bit over the top. Like the whole song felt over the top. That was just the only thing.
It was, but I think maybe it had to do with the placement. But I kind of liked how over the top it was in juxtaposition to like some of the songs around it.
Be the appealing factor of it, you know, because it is,
it wasn't one of my favorite songs in the album. Like, it's not one that I come back to individually, but in context, I do appreciate that it's there.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the last stretch of this album though is insane. I think from stack that cheese to the end. Stack
that cheese though, like as a Lupe fan, like it was such an amazing moment. And like I don't know, I know
saved my life.
Hip hop's it, but I didn't know, like I couldn't find where the sample was from, but like, do you think it was actually like a sample from the 70s? Because you know, on hip hop, The Save My Life, he's like bass heavy medley with a sample from the 70s. Because like the guitar thing on Stack That Cheese actually sounds like it could be like from a 70s song.
That would be crazy. I didn't actually think of that. That's sick. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And like it does have like a pretty heavy like bass rhythm too, and
it
like
does, true.
Like in the third verse when he's kind of emulating that Stack That Cheese chorus again. Like there's just so many callbacks to that song that I thought it was so great.
I love how he kept saying Stack That Cheese, and then when you listen to it, it's like flipping burgers, stack that cheese. Like for the cameras, stack that cheese. Like he actually.
Oh yeah, and he was talking about like American singles, stack that cheese. Like,
yes, dude.
Oh man!
Oh my god, that was great. He actually like had different meanings for it, so it wasn't just like, which is funny because he's rapping about a rapper who's just selling out with like his songs have no meaning at all, and then you're hearing Lupe kind of take one phrase and give it different meanings. It's sort of like a little thing there, but yeah. That song was fucking wonderful. Great hook too, a really bouncy beat, and then we have. Cripple,
I mean, the beat on Cripple, holy the fucking beat fuck, man,
is ridiculous.
The flute,
the flute, bro, the flute.
What's the name of the flute player on there?
Oh yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, I know the guy. I don't know, but dude, the flute. Oh my god, song,
she was going in, yeah, like especially at the end there, like
yeah, dude. Oh man, I love
and like the
flute.
bass line on the piano and everything.
Yeah, so
like, oh man, that beat.
I fucking love it. In fact, just the little instruments like on Stronger, right? There was like a sitar on Stronger at the beginning. You know,
an Asian guitar.
An Asian guitar. A harpsichord.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
The harpsichord on Stronger.
Yeah, it was crazy. Stronger was great too. That song, sort of, kind of showing you someone just at their lowest low and how all of that is making them stronger and more resilient to everything. And the sitar and just the kind of almost confrontational atmosphere of the instrumental sort of fit that pretty nicely. King Nas, which I thought was a fucking awesome song, one of my favorite beats as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, that song as well.
That was really kind of talking about like his nephews, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. His nephews
kind of examining just like growing up.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like
in turning into becoming a man.
Yeah, exactly. And the instrumental on that one too, again, the fucking piano, like the piano is so comforting all over this album. It really just puts you at ease.
Oh man,
yeah,
I love that chorus too. Just so breezy and just
the hook on Cripple when he says like beauty is the largest and it spells out.
Oh yeah, that. Oh man, like I didn't catch that till I caught that. I think on my it spells out what? Bloods.
Yeah, it spells out bloods, and then he goes community resistance.
Does it?
It spells out bloods, yeah. And then he says community resistance in progress.
Oh, wait, I didn't catch that.
Community resistance in progress. Crip.
I caught, yeah, no, I caught the community resistance in progress, and then people lovingly exclaimed to like finish the cripple, right?
Yeah.
But like I caught that, but I didn't catch the blood one.
Yeah, the blood. Yeah, he says
because like actually it was just
I forget what he says. Beauty is the largest. Something it spells out blood. It spells out blood.
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch that at all. Like, cause on my most recent listen, like I was just walking and I heard like the community resistance in progress. I was like, shit, that spells out crip.
Yeah.
But then I heard like the people lovingly exclaim, so I thought he was just spelling out cripple, but I didn't catch the fact that he was also spelling out, crip and blood.
Fucking...
See, that's the amazing thing about like this album and all Lupe's great albums is that you can listen to them so many times, and each time you're gonna be taking in new shit.
This is why this is a great fucking album for a collab review, because it's just people will pick up different things. So yeah, it's perfect. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I fucking love his singing too. He sounded so good singing on that as well.
Yeah.
It sounded really good. Surprising.
And I also like on Wave Files, like in his last verse, like at the very end of the song when he's kind of doing that little like low key mumbly singing. I don't know why, but it just sounds so good over that. Like, do you know what part I'm talking about when he's like, "That's for you." Like I don't know what he's saying on there, but it just kind of sounds so laid back, and it just sounds so good riding over that beat.
Absolutely, man. I also like the hook on that one was great too. How he said,
"Oh wow, walking on." I didn't catch that either until I was like,
"Oh my god, I love that!" And just the fucking bounce of that hook in general is just so catchy.
Yeah, I know. Did you catch on like to go before we finish off like the closing stretch, like to go back to Sun God Sam and the California drug deal? Did you catch the line on there where he said, "Wow, like Pac using both hands and his head as the O"? Did you catch that?
I mean, wait. Okay, say again. Wait.
No, he said, "Wow, like Pac using both hands and his head is the O." Like if you see pictures of Tupac, like he's doing the West Coast, and he's like,
no,
like who the fuck thinks of that? Who thinks of shit like?
Oh wow, man, that's fucking.
Like I caught that. I was like, what does he mean? And then like I saw a picture of it, and like Pac doing the West Coast thing.
Holy shit!
And I was like,
that's ridiculous.
Nobody except Lupe would think of like a line
that's
like
the sickest simile. Like he's like, wow, like, and then he just pulls off this shit.
Yeah,
like, you could say anything.
What'd you think of Sun God Sam overall, though?
Okay, that song was interesting because the final verse. When that has that weird like fucked up beat switch and then he just goes crazy, because there were at first I remember I thought on that last verse I was like, man, he's really flowing wonderfully, but I'm not sure if I'm sold by all these lines, because I remember he had a few questionable bars, like just talking about like horny like Triceratops.
Oh, like horny like Triceratops, yeah.
Like that. But like then I sort of I read into it a bit, and I feel like he's sort of rapping like sort of towards hip hop in a sense. So maybe he's just sort of like just all like kind of going
that's what I thought.
Typical cliches in hip hop or something, and that's why the lines are kind of subpar and sort of intentionally so. Maybe I'm not 100% sure, but still, I love the way he said it. Though, so.
do you remember Body of Work from Tetsuo and Youth? Like,
Sure.
to me, this seemed like it was kind of like a similar concept.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's kind of how. Yeah,
like
exactly.
Sun God
Body of
Sam
Work, like, yeah,
was like a rapper, and the drug deal is like him putting his music out in the world, but he's just
yeah,
like, you know, more of a shitty kind of,
exactly.
I guess, SoundCloud-ish rap.
Exactly, and that's
And I like that song a lot musically too. Like, it was one of the more like kind of upbeat songs.
Yeah, the beat
like with that, like,
off kilter at first.
is like those had these. Yeah, I had these like epic strings and that weird like eerie stretched out synth, but it was kind of felt a bit vintage. Like I don't know, there's just something about it.
No.
And like I like the way that the chorus kind of like dips in and it's kind of like really more like, reserved and subtle, and then it kind of comes back in the verses. But then when the verses come back, it's kind of like an explosive moment, especially when he comes into that last verse and just starts going.
God. Yeah, his flow is immaculate, man. Like,
I know, and like I also love at the end of his third verse where he's kind of like skirt, but he just says it so calmly. He's like as if he wasn't just like rapping his ass off. Like,
and you're right. I love that the hook when it comes in. It's just such a warm embrace, and that switch up too is just so like fucking weird, and like it's such a nicely structured song. My favorite track on this album though is Happy Timbuktu.
Happy Timbuktu Day, Lupe on this song. Oh.
I fucking love the last verse where he's like, we don't want to work, send slaves. Okay, he has like a bit of a sense of humor there.
Oh,
and you really get a bit of his
and like,
on that.
Yeah.
It's so great.
All three verses on that song, like, he just went off. Like especially with like his rhyme schemes in there. Like, like he just. I couldn't even keep track of what he did. And he had so many great lines, like when he was like, best of both worlds, like God caused the Big Bang. Like he's just like so humorous.
Yeah, he has so much personality, man. It was fucking awesome. Yeah, dude.
And like, I don't know, just things he said, I just love the way he says them when he's like, colder than a Gole, golder than my Rolex. Like,
I love it. Yeah, like I'm Superman.
So many fun parts.
Yeah, he's just his cadence alone, I think, are just so
like I'm Luther Van.
Yeah, like I just
man,
his
cadences and everything, like
brilliant. Yeah, and the hook too. Give me the mic. What you want? Give me the mic.
The mic.
Yeah.
Well, like, so but that was like a dedication to like a DJ named Timbuktu, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. I think the whole song was just sort of celebrating his life or something. So.
Yeah.
I think that's
see, like a lot of these songs like contributing to the like the overall theme. Like, you know, I've seen people like I haven't watched Spectrum Pulse's review, but I saw on Twitter he was talking about how like the songs don't all play into the concept. But I don't think this was meant to be like a story album, like Clipping Splendor and Misery or anything. I think some of these songs, like, you know, both Forevers, you know, Stronger, Haile Selassie, this one here, they kind of just play more into an overall theme about kind of, I'd say, what's the word? What's it called? I can't believe I'm forgetting this word. What's the word where you like, after you die, you get reincarnation. Like, I feel like a lot of this album deals with like reincarnation and like second chances and just like celebrating lost things that could have been, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And that's kind of the idea of like the whole slave thing. It's like instead of coming to America, they got, you know, they became like these ocean spirits are part of the waves, and they were kind of given them a second chance at life.
Songs like Manila and Imagine, which are just showing like consumerism, materialism, like succumbing to label struggles, like you're hoping for that second chance as well, and you're just seeing these examples of people just sort of going through and they're fucking up, they're spending money on this and that, and you can then correlates that to the slave trade too. And then you have the rebirth. It all kind of connects ultimately. I think ultimately, even though you do have songs from one idea to the next, you can maybe to some it might seem like a bit scattershot, but it all kind of ultimately relates to one general theme. So I don't really mind it too much. I wouldn't say it's
like they all kind of construct this entire like cohesive idea. They're not just. It's not like he's. Because some people were kind of talking as if, like, you know, the first 7 or so songs started this idea of the slave thing, and then, he just completely trashed that and then just made all these random songs. But, like, they all just more so contribute to, like, a greater concept and theme than just, like, you know, just telling a story across an album like Good Kid, Mad City or something.
Sure. So, what did you think of Mural Jr., then, the closing track?
On first listen, I was a bit disappointed just because, like, Mural, like the first one, is probably my favorite Lupe song.
Yeah, it's the best like, dude. That song is.
Yeah, like his verse on that song is. I think it's like maybe the best hip hop verse of all time. Like,
insane.
Like that song to me is insane.
It's ridiculous.
But like, the more I listen, the more I did like Mural Jr. because like it's not as good, but that doesn't mean it can't be a good song.
Yeah,
it's definitely a very grand orchestral closer, like choir vocals. It had these huge drums, these strings that kind of echoey piano.
Yeah, exactly. And I did love that line he had where he said, "The gallery's like the wall space, so I made a gallery of galleries made of all space." So he like sees a gallery as sort of like an
and then he's like, if it was more small, it would be Moore's Law. I had that.
And I love how it's just
my favorite part of the song.
He sees the gallery sort of as like as just an opportunity to create. So he made his own gallery of galaxies filled with all these opportunities. And again, it sort of links to the rebirth kind of theme. So,
exactly.
Like he's creating something out of something else.
And I also like that line where he says, "From the land of the Po where we Warsaw," like, you know, kind of Warsaw in Poland, or like land of the poor where we saw war. I was like, what the fuck?
That's tight. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
With Miro Jr., I think it was just like a close. It was just a total, just like bar fest. There's a whole bunch of like crazy entendres and whatnot. And the instrumental, I'm just not really sold on it, honestly. I think that's my main issue.
Really?
I mean, it's not a bad instrumental.
That's actually what sold me about it at first, like before I even kind of started appreciating some of the lyrics on there.
No, the lyrics hit me first, I guess. But the instrumental, it's not a bad instrumental. It's just, it doesn't really excite me. I feel like it's trying too hard to excite me, kind of, with its huge presentation and everything.
I feel like it was like not really trying hard to excite. I found it was more like kind of serene and like kind of heady, a bit like heavenly feeling, like as if kind of like, you know, ascending to, you know, something greater, like as if it's like starting the reincarnate, like this is you being reincarnated on this song.
That's
kind of that process.
Or maybe it links into the reincarnation theme, and Lupe.
Maybe this links into Tetsuo and youth, and like it's like a prequel.
If you listen to the chorus of track 5 on Lasers, actually, and you play it in reverse, it actually
if you actually take all the tracks from Lupe's discography, it spells out Hobson is the greatest rapper of all time. Go listen to Pound Syndrome in reverse for 9 hours straight.
Oh my God.
It's like a Da Vinci Code of Lupe.
That shit is all over the album, man. Fuck, but yeah,
he's been constructing his entire career,
dude. Yeah, from birth, he was like, "This is my goal," and then Miro Jr. Instrumental, just I didn't really get much out of it. I felt like despite how much was happening, it didn't really have as much weight as I think it should have done, even though there was so much going on. I didn't really feel like it had that much like punch, really, for me at least. To
me it didn't have a punch, but to me it didn't need to for like what I feel it achieved. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, right. I mean, I just feel like Miro Jr. didn't really fulfill as a finish for me. I mean, like with the instrumentation, I feel like it was trying to, with how grand it was. But yeah, again, that punch wasn't there, so I just felt a little bit unsatisfied, a little bit. But the song was not bad. But yeah, go ahead.
I think the one moment to me that felt kind of inessential, like the one that I didn't really feel like I needed there, was quotations from Chairman Fred, and like the verses on that song, like they were pretty good, and the instrumental was okay, but especially the last 3 minutes at the end, where it's just like 3 minutes of preaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I get it, but after I listened to that once, I don't really want to sit through that every time I listen to the album.
I think the music, the song portion of the song was good. Like,
yeah,
I like
good,
that piano, the little descending piano, and the way it switched up briefly at the end there was quite nice. Exactly.
I love that. Yeah,
calm little trance. Yeah. And Lupe's doing fine, and the female voice is cool. But yeah, I agree that ending was a bit prolonged. It didn't really do much for me there. But yeah, the song itself was still solid. But yeah, I don't think you would be losing much really if you took that out. Ultimately though, had a great time with this album. This was a lot of fun. Yeah. This is fucking wonderful. It was really great seeing him back on top form again after Drogas Light.
Yeah, this is an album I feel like I'll be able to like I'm gonna keep coming back to this. Like I've listened to it I think 6 times now, but I'm still gonna be listening to this a ton throughout the rest of the year because there's just so much to digest. And I feel like it's such a fulfilling listen.
With every listen you'll pick up something. So yeah, it's great. I'm feeling a very strong 8 out of 10. I think it's fantastic. Great album. What about you, David? What are you feeling score wise?
I was honestly considering giving this thing a 10, but I pulled myself back in and I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a very strong 9 instead, just because, like I said, a few moments like the end of quotations from Chairman Fred, like feel a bit inessential. And then songs like Stronger or Imagine, like I like those songs a lot, but like you've said this before, and I think you've said it's like perfectly said, is that the only difference between a 9 and a 10 is like this feeling you get. And I get that feeling like listening to the majority of this album, but then with some tracks like Imagine, like even though I still like it, like that feeling kind of dies off a bit. So like this is honestly pretty close to a 10 for me, but because like I like basically every song on here, and like it gives me that feeling on a lot of these songs. Like when I listen to Manila and Wave Files and Joni Lost Forever, like I get that feeling, but it doesn't carry all the way through. But still, like it's gonna be one of my favorite albums of the year. So it's a very strong.
I feel like in the case of Stronger and Imagine, those songs don't really set themselves apart quite as much as the song like Gold versus The Right Thing to Do does, for example. I feel like musically, there's nothing really on those songs that's massively
they're a bit more linear.
Exactly. So
and they're not as like grand. I feel they don't add like that grand presentation, and not that they need to, but like
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. No, 100%. So yeah, so you're going 9 out of 10 on this one.
Yeah, like this is probably gonna be like a top 5 of the year.
Yeah,
like, I was very happy with what Lupe
really
gave
good.
us.
It's really, I loved it. It was great. One of the best rap albums this year, and it's so consistent for its length too. Like I think you said, like you tweeted, like, okay, I'm never gonna judge an album.
Yeah,
for its length.
Like that Julia Holter album, you know, it could be great.
Yeah, I can't
I probably will be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, excellent. So yeah, I'm glad we both came away pretty much on the same page. This has been lovely. Thank you for coming on, David. Thank you for watching the review.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, man, this has been great. Go stream Drogas fucking Wave. Go buy this shit. It's pretty awesome.
Go do some dancing.
Yeah, please do some
Everyone
dancing.
needs dancing in their life.
Yeah, although please be aware that you will not top David, but you know, yeah.
No one
cares.
That's just a fact of life, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone succumbs to it. But yeah, so it is what it is. But yeah, thank you.
Fuck you, Josh.
I was thinking, should I bring up Josh? I was thinking
Josh, you bastard.
Oh my God. All right, so thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you later. Bye.